Hello, welcome to another episode of Curt and Paul Discuss. I'm Paul Chappell, and obviously Curtis couldn't be here today, and I am reviewing Peppermint, which stars Jennifer Garner as a wife whose family is murdered by a drug cartel in Los Angeles. And this movie has been getting terrible reviews. It's currently at a 12% rating for the critics on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, the audience score is a little bit different. The audience score is actually 80%, which when I see something like that, there's something going on here. And it's usually to do with critics not liking a movie for being different or original or any of those buzzwords critics likes to use. And on that count, yeah, they're probably right. There isn't a lot of unpredictability to this movie. It's a run-of-the-mill revenge flick. The question is it an entertaining revenge flick? And I would say yes. If you want to see bad guys, indisputable bad guys, I mean, there's no gray area in this movie. These are bad guys. These guys have face tattoos, so they should have been shot on just that account. And just my advice to people who don't want to do drive-bys or any criminals for that matter, face tattoos are really easy to identify you later. Of course, because Jennifer Garner's movie, she identifies three of the people involved in the drive-by of her husband and daughter at a carnival amusement park. I mean, that's kind of hokey in itself. But the fact that all three of them have face tattoos that she can identify later is kind of ludicrous. But like I said, the movie's entertaining. Like I said, you're not going to find anything terribly original about the plot. The thing I found most compelling is that they skip over a lot in the movie. You go from her family getting murdered to basically a few years later. I think it was 5 years later, and the three guys involved in killing her family are just found hanging in the amusement park. Spoilers. There's going to be some spoilers from this point. But they just skip over of her. Actually, you see one of the guys that was involved in the drive-by. They actually show him getting killed, but you don't actually see her tracking these guys and finding them and executing them. She's actually going after the guy, their boss. So they skip over her training. They skip over her tracking down those three involved in the drive-by. And you just get her to this point where she's this badass. And there is a little indication from the detectives investigating her revenge killings, tracking some of what she's been doing in those 5 years. They track her to China, where she was in some kind of underground MMA type fighting circuit, where she learned how to fight hand to hand. And where she gets the gun training, I don't know. But they do say she raids a gun shop in Los Angeles probably days before the killings start. So it was interesting on that level that they chose to admit something that they would have included in most movies, this boring montage of training. And I think the director of this movie was actually, I think he's the same director that did Taken. So you had an experience. This director, and I'm drawing his name is Pierre Morel. He has experience with doing these action movies. You know, there's a lot of people that love Taken, but like I said, he skipped over a lot of boring parts, went right to the action, and it was it was an entertaining popcorn flick. It's not going to change your life, but it did its job. It entertained. I actually made some prediction about what I expected this movie to do before I ever saw. I had three cliches I thought they were going to use in this movie, because you got a lot of people calling this movie right-wing revenge flick, a conservative fantasy flick. So I thought about that. I was like, well, some studio heads is going to send the director notes. So you're going to see these. I felt like you were going to see some cliches. One of the cliches, my first cliche that I thought they were going to use, and I'll read it here. My first one was, to make Jennifer Garner seem less racist for executing Hispanics, movie will give her a Hispanic best friend or ally. And they kind of use that cliche in the movie. There is a Hispanic character in the film. I won't say who, because I don't want to give away too much of the plot for people who actually want to see it. But there is a Hispanic character in the movie who's a good, quote unquote good guy, and he's not her best friend, I would just say, but he is kind of an ally. So you get the sense they were kind of trying to water down the idea that she might be racist, even though there's no indication anywhere in the movie that she's doing it. She's killing these people because of racist tendencies. So you did see that cliche, which it wasn't badly done. I mean, I'll just leave it at that. So that one cliche was thrown in the movie. My second cliche was that Jennifer Garner will use domestic tools to kill bad guys, i.e. a minivan, knives from a butcher block, car seat, etc. That type of thing. And I was really wrong about that one. There was none of that in this movie. She uses military grade weapons throughout the movie. She doesn't use something that her daughter used to play with, a toy or something, to lure the bad guys in, or something like maybe something she used in her baby's crib to lure the bad guys into a bedroom or something and kill them that way. Or she did have a van in the movie, but it was not a minivan. It was just kind of like an A-Team type van that she used to hold all her hardware. So I was wrong about that. The third cliche I thought they would use was Jennifer Garner will defeat 200-pound men in hand-to-hand combat because karate turns people into superheroes. Okay, there was a little bit of that. I won't say she went hand-to-hand with these people, like full-on drag-out, punch-down fighting. There was none of that. She mainly used guns. I think in a couple situations she used knives, but like it was really surprise melee attacks. She would jump out of nowhere, stab the guy in the throat, and that was it. That she did use some hand-to-hand techniques, but it's mainly disabling their gun hands. I think one situation she actually grabbed the guy's hand and slammed into it, breaking his wrist or something like that. But it was very quick. There was never a scene where she threw a 200-pound man against the wall or anything ridiculous like that. And the attacks were very well coordinated and quick. She basically would disable guys before they could react. So they really played down that cliche. There was also a couple times where she really was injured by a man, and you could see the pain. She didn't just shrug it off like you would see in most of these stupid action movies. There was nothing, I would say, really ridiculous about the fight, aside from the fact that of course the bad guys cannot shoot in this film, and of course she has 100% accuracy every time she shoots somebody. So they did have that cliche, but you kind of have to suspend your disbelief about something like that. I mean, it's going to be ridiculous no matter what that one person takes down an entire organization of heavily armed criminals. I mean, you don't see that in real life. It just doesn't happen. So I wasn't thrown off by that. So I think it was, like I said, if you want to just relieve a boring afternoon, it's a good movie to go see. I actually went to see it with my wife, and she loved it. I mean, she just loved it. I mean, there was no complaints from her. She was riveted the whole time. There was no exploitation of Jennifer Garner's looks in the movie. I mean, a lot of times you see movies like this, the woman is wearing some kind of horror outfit. There was none of that. So I was pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly surprised that they skipped over her training montage. Like I said, she goes from being this traumatized wife and mother to just disappearing and then reappearing as this total badass. So, if anything, the director just dispensed with a lot of BS you see in a lot of these movies, and I think the movie was actually better for it. But I think the box office for this film so far, it's been out a week. I think it's made $21 million off a $25 million budget. So, I mean, we're only a week in. So, it looks like it's going to make money, and there perhaps will be a sequel because they set up, the way they set up the ending, it's obviously going to be they were thinking about making sequels if it would turn out to be some kind of, modest hit. And Peppermint is pretty good title for a movie. You can definitely do something with that title as far as sequel goes. Because if you watch me and Curt's review of Mile 22, one of my complaints about that movie, which was also obviously set up to do a sequel, one of my major complaints about that film is that title, Mile 22, was just terrible. You can't really do a sequel with that name. So I don't know what they were really thinking when they decided to use that name. But this movie, Peppermint, pretty solid title for to be used in some kind of trilogy. So we'll see if that happens. Jennifer Garner has, she has some acting chops. She has some charisma that they can use. This movie kind of reminded me a little bit of the movie her husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, Ben Affleck did. It'd be interesting to see these two characters team up. And I'm talking, of course, about the accountant. So probably not going to happen, but it'd be interesting. Even to see those characters square off or something. We've seen Stranger Things. They probably, I haven't checked, but they probably put out by two different studios, so it's probably not going to happen. But that would be very interesting. And if they wanted to juice up a sequel, that would be really interesting to see her and Ben Affleck do another movie, because they did do Daredevil together. I think that's where they met, though. But like I said, I enjoyed the movie. I would give it, as an action movie, I would give it 4 Bruce Willises or whatever. Who's the action star of the day? 4 Rocks, 4 Vin Diesels. As a psychological thriller, I can't classify it as a psychological thriller, but as an action film, I give it a solid 4. So go see it if you're interested. If you're not, if you don't like female action flicks, stay home. It's not for you. If you're looking for some movie that's going to knock your socks off, stay home. It's not that type of movie. But that's it, and I will see you when I see you.